My name is Kenny and welcome back to the part 3 of my JQuery. So this time I'm going to cover one more thing which is not required, but for this company we actually use something called Google App Engine. So I believe that you already have Google App Engine already installed on your computer, or else you might need to go through another tutorial on how to set up the Google App Engine. Anyway, so right now, we are going to cover a little bit on just to do a fast wrap up on doing a Google Engine using a terminal, or if in Windows is command prompt. And the next thing is that we are going to do a template. So before we finish the last video, actually we have something called the template, which will enable us to do some very nice design without having to limit ourselves to a certain rules of JavaScripts, which we're going to cover here. So I just put this text over here to remind me how to do it because I can't remember all the codes, so I need to copy them down. Then the next thing is that this is the main reason why we need a Google engine, is because we are going to play along with Ajax. Ajax doesn't allow two things by default. The first thing is it doesn't allow file transfer. The extension which is file. Okay, if you look at our website right now, the tutorial that I've been doing all the while is called file. Start the extension file. If you use this and try to do Ajax, you'll get a lot of failures. So let's prevent that from the start. Then the next thing is something that one of the things that we really excited on discovering back in 3 years ago is called the after functions. Basically, how this works is that we actually put a function inside another function, and this is one of my favorite. That's why I put it my favorite. But again, we will actually explain a little bit more on why do we do this and how we actually going to incorporate this in our example. So if you haven't finished the first and the second video, you might need to do that before you continue with this video. Okay, let's look back on what we have so far. So we have our index. So basically we have set up our JavaScript, and of course we have our link to our own custom code, which is index.js. And of course our index.js have what we have set up earlier, which is the arrays and the JSONs and the array with JSONs. So now let's see what we need to do first. The first thing we need to do is to set up our Google App Engine. Okay. So for those who are using Windows, then basically you just need to cd go to your folders, and basically right now I'm in my folder. Well, I already do that upfront. And the next thing is that in Google App Engine, actually we can do something like this: dev app server.py, and basically we actually try to run the server to say that okay, run the folder as a server. So basically what happens is that it will actually run a PHP server, something like XAMPP. XAMPP is actually XAMPP in Windows or in Linux, but we don't use that in this company. So right now, as you can see, there's an error. I cannot work because there's one most important file that's missing, which is the app. We need to create a new file. Okay, so let's create a new file called app. Save it, app.yaml. So what happens is that this is a configuration file, which is a Python actually, a configuration for Python which is used by Google to run our PHP code. So it's confusing. Don't worry if you don't really know much about the Google engine. Just ignore it. Just follow exactly as what I key in here. So the application name right now is not very important. You can key in anything you want. So I can just say meow power. It doesn't matter, but later when you are deploying to the Google engine, yeah, you need to make sure that the name is right. So the version, you can put in anything. The runtime, of course, PHP. Then the instance, yeah, blah blah blah. Everything is okay. The thread safe, just make it as false. This is the two things that you need to make sure that you have. Number one, index. Whenever I go
It's
through
2 o'clock.
the it's 2 o'clock already. Sorry, let's go through again. If I go through the slash, basically it will immediately go to the index.html. Then the next thing is that we have the AZ. So basically the AZ, usually I store all the JS file, all the CSS, and because this is Google Engine, I don't want to declare one by one all my files. So rather by declaring one by one, I just create a folder and throw all the necessary files that I want inside there. It means that all my JS and all my CSS. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create new folders. Okay, this folder I'm going to call as assets. Okay, so yep, now I got my asset, and you can see this is my JS file. I'm going to move it inside there. So let's find my folder. So this is my index. So I'm going to drag it inside. So now it's inside my index.js. Okay. So over here, of course, you will get some funny thing because you can't find the file anymore. So if right now everything is still the same, but over in my index.html, remember that we have a source that's linked to it. So we need to change it to assets index.html. Okay, so done. We are done on this. Okay, then the XAMPP, okay, I save it. So now let's try to go into this dev app server.py. Okay, and it should be working. Yep. So now you actually start my server and you can see that, okay, my server is actually running at HTTP localhost 8080. So now let's try to go to our website, see whether it's working or not. Yep. Let's just inspect a little bit. Okay, beautiful. Everything is working fine. So right now it's HTTP localhost 8080 and you can see my file index.js is there. My index file is there. So everything is working. So again, this tutorial we are just going to cover a basic on just how to make sure it can run as a localhost 8080. Okay, so now I'm going to cover something called template. Let's go back to our JS. Earlier I did mention that if we are going to do something like selector append, then every time you want to customize this, it's going to be very painful because I might have more codings. It could be a very long line coding, and again, if I try to say like class, then again I need to do something like this, open bracket, then maybe I want, okay, this dot name. So it looks very messy and it looks, I mean for old guys like me, basically it takes a while for me to get used to it, and when doing debugging it's a nightmare. However, thanks to a recent discovery, there's an easier way to do this. Okay, so let me just remove this class first. Okay, so how we're going to do is that, let me just go back to the earlier thing. Okay, so basically we actually can declare a constants which will cover, okay, let me just go to my index.js. Okay, so right now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to declare a constant. So over here I can call it as, okay, selector option can. You can call anything you want. So for now I call Kenny, and for your case, if you want to learn it, call your name. Okay, then the next thing is that what are the parameters that I can pass in? For now, maybe I just say in name. Oh, I can call it, maybe another one is called class name. I call anything, again, it doesn't matter. And this is the beauty. Now, I can just type anything that I want. So basically, this is a HTML code, and okay, this is the symbol that you need to take note. And if you see, if you do realize that I have one tab over here called graph asset. So this is a graph asset. Graph asset is not our single code. Graph asset is that graph asset in keyboard. Actually, it's on my keyboard currently. It's on my number one, left to my number one. So, wow. Let me see if I can get a keyboard photo. Okay, let me click on the image. Ooh, well, let's see if this one is good enough. Okay, so this is number one. So this is the symbol, the one at the bottom. So basically, if you click, you press this button, you'll get the graph action which look like this. So if you're able to see on my screen, it's basically like this. It's a bit weird. Okay, so make sure that you use the right symbol or else you will be in the world of pain. Okay, so now let's continue. So with this selector of Kenny, so I'm going to pass in my in name. So basically what I need to do is that a dollar sign and a curly bracket. Again, this is not JQuery as I said. Most of the dollar sign is a JQuery, but for this case, it's not really a JQuery. So it's basically it's a dollar sign, a curly bracket, and I say in name. And over here, I would say curly bracket. Okay, dollar sign, curly bracket, last name. So with this, we are done. We already do the first step, but this is just to declare, but we didn't pass it. We didn't really pass in anything. So now we want to pass in the next second thing is called the map. Okay, so this is our original code. I'm going to remark it. So I'm going to use selector. Okay, dot append. So here, what I'm going to do is that I need to put in the variable. So just now, remember I have two variables. One is called the in name. So the in name, I'll call this name. Then of course I have a class name, so I need to have class name. Make sure that the spelling is correct. Beautiful. Whatever. Okay, whatever. So basically I just call I pass in one variable called in name, the other one called class name. Then I need to put in the variable name, the constant variable name. So over here I call it selector option canny. So basically I join them. After I join them, then I append them. So basically this whole line, what it does is that you'll take all these variable, map into these constants, and then all this dollar sign class name will change into this ma. Then the other one is that the in name, whatever variable that I pass in name, it will turn into here. So we like what we did earlier. So let's see if there's any error. Okay, let's hopefully there's none. Okay, so far so good. Yep. So as you can see, everything is working as intended. Just to make sure that we don't get any hanky-panky, so we just open out index.js. So over here, you can see there's a selector. Yep, everything is working as per design. Okay, so this is a template. So for those who are, I hope that you understand on the template. So the template is basically just a HTML code that you can just copy paste without have to re-encode or do a join together or wow, how to pronounce that word? Concat together. So we do not need to do that. We don't need to join them. So basically, just paste the whole HTML. Then you just need to do a simple thing like what I did earlier. Just put a dollar sign, curly bracket, then the variable name. So now I cover up, finish on the template. Now this is the next thing that I need to teach you, which is the Ajax. So for the Ajax, some of our code is located in another server or belong to someone else, example like Google Map or etc. 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 But for this round, we are going to do our own API servers. So the API servers usually is written in Nodes or PHP or any server-side coding. But for this tutorial, we are just going to do a very simple just a very simple call test.json. Okay, just to make sure that nobody confused, I just call test.txt. So right now in this test.txt, basically I have nothing. It's just basically a output. So basically what happens is that Ajax actually is trying to download the file, this test.txt, then after that try to read what is inside there. That is all the bombastic thing about Ajax is just to download another file, then read the file content, then react accordingly. So it's nothing fancy. Okay, so in order to start with Ajax is that during in the earlier tutorial we have one problem. Okay, so one of the problem is that actually we use a slim. So after I do a Google search, it seems like if we try to use slim for our JavaScript, for our jQuery, it doesn't inclusive of the Ajax because it's trying to reduce the size of the jQuery. So this is a bad decision that I actually selected the slim. So to solve this, what we need to do is that, okay, let's go back to jQuery CDN. Okay, so on the CDN, basically there are few versions. So the most obvious one, of course, is that you can get on compress, but if you see bugs in jQuery, which is kind of unlikely, I mean, especially with the level that we are going through, we don't get the uncompressed version, we just get the minified. Okay, so on the minified, so again, if you're planning to use Ajax, don't use the slim. Okay, because the slim is much more, as the word is called, it's much more simple. It's much more smaller. Okay, let me try to copy again. Okay, so now I copy, so now I paste. Okay, so now I already have okay, I updated it to the not slim version, but it's a minified. So now on the JS, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to call the syntax called Ajax. Okay, so there are a few parameters that we'll pass in. The first one is the URL. So the URL, basically we can call a variable called maybe my URL is equals to, is located in Ajax test.txt. Okay, so basically I just call this as my URL. The second thing is called data type. So usually we are using JSON. Again, all these things you can actually search through by JQuery Ajax. And in the documentation, I mean usually I like to use the default, which is API JQuery. I mean it's the most complete version compared to others, but it's not the easiest to understand. However, you have a lot of great examples, and like jQuery is everything very flexible. So like example, just now I mentioned about data type. Okay, so if you can see over here, data type by default it have an intelligent guess. It can actually guess is it XML, JSON, script, or HTML. So if you just say JSON, basically it just treat everything as JSON. If it cannot understand, then we get errors. Okay, so over here, what we're going to do is that we're going to pass in a function for success. So I get the data. Then of course I also will get error function. Basically here is object, and of course the error message. Okay, so if there's an error message, I want to know what's the error message. Then if the data is out, I want to know what is inside the data. Okay. Okay, so now I've done this, so I'm not really sure whether it's going to work or not. Because okay, this is load combo box. Okay, I think I shouldn't put here. So let me just move this Ajax to a button, because I want to be able to trigger whenever I press the button. So these two things I do not need them anymore. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's go back to our hello world, refresh it. Okay, click on console. Okay, there's no error, so I click on it. Okay, I get an error, says error. So the beauty of using this inspector is that immediately it will tell you that okay, localhost 800 asset text is not exist. So over here, if you try to look at the network, you also will be able to see them. So what I will do is that I can open it in a new tab. So basically it says that, hey, I cannot find this text. Just now I call O. So basically it's a spelling mistake. It's a test, not text. Okay, so let's do it. Where is my okay, so it's a test.text. Okay, so now I'll change it to test. Okay, basically it's a blank. Refresh, click. Okay, now we got page error. Remember, just now I said I want JSON, but basically it's returning me a blank file. So blank file is not doing good to me, doing good to my Ajax. So remember, this is the Ajax. So basically I can return back as a bunch of things, or I can just return one item. So usually, as I mentioned, if you're using store procs, usually you only get one item which look like this. Status equals to okay, name, age. Okay, let's try this sample whether it works or not. Hit paste, save, and as I mentioned, Ajax is basically download the files, read the files, then show it out. Okay, so it still says that nope, it cannot understand what is this. Okay, let's make it array. Still paste error. Let's see what's happening. Well, everything seems to be correct. Why is the thing holding up? Okay, let's use this one which we used earlier. Paste. It's okay. It's keep on saying paste error. It shouldn't be, but let's see on my coding. Did I pass everything correctly? Okay, the network say this is a header get, which is correct. Now it's my coding. Okay, so basically it says it's JSON, so the method should be get. I don't think this is the problem, but why am I keep on getting a paste error? Still paste error. Okay, let me just try to rename this to become JSON. I don't think this is the problem, but just give me a second. JSON. Okay, so whenever I found a problem, so let's try. Well, now you can see how I actually find the problem. Paste error. So Stack Overflow is one of the best things. So okay, for some reason it says because of this, of the data that I pass back, it says it's not a JSON. So what we can do is that validate JSON. Okay, so let's see if the output that I given is a valid JSON. Okay, paste error. Oh, okay, I cannot use single quote. So now I'm going to change it to all single quote to become double quote. Press all, save. Let's try now. Paste. Okay, now it's everything okay. So look like we learned something new. So all the things that we do is that it must be single quote. I mean double quote in order to work as a JSON through Ajax. Well, we learned something new. Test for JSON. Okay. So let's try again. Ta-da! Yep, it works now. And yep, we have all the name equals to 12, status okay, status okay. So yep, now we already make it work. So now I just rename it back to text. So it doesn't matter what file name you have, basically if it's PHP or anything, as long as you return the valid JSON, it will work. So text. Now let's see. I prefer this one. Okay, so just now we already know that the data that we return must be. Okay, so here I need to replace everything. Okay, I think I missed out else. Okay, so now let's try. Okay, click me. I got error. Okay, click me. Still got error because I don't. Oh, sorry, the file name. So I need to change the index dot this one to become. I forgot to save. Okay, reload. Click. Yep. So now I got status okay. Okay. So I click again. Okay. So now, whenever I get the response from here, so okay, so now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add in a text box. Okay, which I will have a text box here, which is a meow. Whenever I click the button, I want to get the value from text, which is the name of the person. Okay, so let's try out. So the text box ID would be, let's see here, it's called text.mytext. Text, my text, val, data, need. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, wow, that's cool. Okay, so let me just click here, and you can see the name Kenny is here. It's automatic pull from the text file. Then I get the word Kenny. So now if I change it to meow2, so I'll click here, I get meow2. So this is the beauty of it. I mean, from the system, from the database, you can keep on dynamically get the data and reflect on the screen. So with this, you don't have to keep on refreshing the screen like the old times. You have to refresh the screen and then change the content. So now with the JQuery, with the Ajax, you can do wonders. You can do everything reactively. I mean, very responsively. Basically, is that I change something. I try to search for Kenny. Then you actually give me the output of Kenny. If I type maybe jellies, it will cover jellies. If I key in apple, it will show me apple. Okay. So now let's continue with the next one. Would be, let's see, what do I need to cover? Okay, so we already done all this, the Ajax, which is fantastic, and we almost done, which is the after function. The challenge that we face day to day is that we want to do a generic system, but we have something called, example like click me can be used by multiple buttons. Okay, so right now I'm going to do a sample here. So I'm going to have one button which is click me, and I also have another one which is, okay, so I call click me 1, click me 2. Maybe I just click me A, click me, okay, click me and say yeah when finish. Okay, so basically I got two versions, click me A and click me B. Basically both of them are doing the same thing, is that they have to change the text box to whatever in the JSON. So but the only thing is that if I click on this button, I want to say yeah when it finish. Okay, so with this, right now we have click me. So now I'm going to create two more functions called click me A. Okay, and of course we have another function called click me B. And here I will have an after function which I can pass in. And this after function, what I want to do is that click me A, click me, okay, when click me A do, I don't want to pass anything because I don't want it to do anything, while click me B, I want to pass in a function. And as I said, I want to show yeah when it finished. So with here, you can see that, okay, both of them are calling the same click me, but here is that I pass in a function inside the click me to say that it will alert yeah. But over here, we haven't declared what we want to do with the after function. So over here, what I'm going to do is that first, I'm going to detect if type of after function is undefined. Okay, so what happens is that okay, if this is not undefined, okay, so basically over here in the type of after function is undefined, then basically what happens is that if we pass in a parameter, I want to call the parameter. Then over here I can choose to pass in, let's assume I want to pass in the data. So basically I can pass in this data, pass to this function with the data. So for this case, I'll pass in the data, then of course console.log data. So basically it's the same function, but I can have two different reactions. Let's see whether do we have any errors of it. Okay, refresh. Okay, no errors. Okay, so now we have click me and click me and say yeah, we're finished. Click me, nothing happened. We have a meow meow 2. Let's try again. If I change to Kenny, yeah, I got my auto. Okay, now if I click here, I got yeah. After I click OK, it shows the console log. So with these techniques of after function, we enable a same function being written once, but it can have different routings as like earlier. The same function, one without any reaction, the another one with reaction, means that I can say, yay, yay, it's working. Okay, so with this, I think we cover what I supposed to cover for today. So the first thing is that we actually cover the Google Air Engine, which is a little bit snippets where you actually can run the whole folders as a server in a shortest time. The second thing is that I will cover about the templates, which enable you to do designs without have to worry about JavaScripts. Then of course we also cover about Ajax, which you can actually call and we actually do a simple changes of the parameter and everything will work accordingly. And the last one is of course after functions, which enable you to call a lot of functions within functions. So with this, I think you should be ready to do a basic JavaScript and you'll be able to read through the codes in my systems. Okay, so with this, well, if there's any more jQuery tutorial, I'll actually be on posted. And then with this, I think thank you. Bye.